The orbital shipyards of Centauri Prime hummed with a peculiar tension, a mixture of technological wonder and profound frustration. Suspended against the backdrop of a starry void, the luminous horizon represented the most ambitious interstellar engineering project in galactic history. 12 alien civilizations had collaborated for decades, pooling resources, knowledge, and technological expertise to create a vessel that was supposed to redefine space exploration. Yet the ship sat motionless, a silent behemoth of gleaming alloys and impossible geometries that defied conventional understanding of spacecraft design. Its hull shimmered with metamaterials that could theoretically bend light, space, and time. Quantum capacitors lined its internal structure, capable of generating more energy than entire planetary systems. Computational cores integrated with living neural networks promised an intelligence far beyond any previous artificial system. But it wouldn't start. Not a single system would activate. Not a single circuit would respond. The assembled engineering teams represented the most advanced minds in the known universe. The Zarkaks, with their crystalline computational matrices. The Quarian quantum physicists, capable of manipulating probability at the subatomic level. The Nexian biomechanical engineers who could redesign living systems with a thought. The Vraxian spatial mathematicians who could calculate multi-dimensional trajectories in microseconds. And yet they were defeated by a starship that refused to acknowledge their existence. Jack Harper watched from the maintenance corridor, his weathered hands wrapped around a ceramic coffee mug that looked comically primitive among the holographic displays and shimmering alien interfaces. To the sophisticated beings around him, he was invisible, just another human maintenance worker, barely qualified to clean the sophisticated equipment, let alone understand its complexities. No one noticed how his eyes tracked the ship's diagnostic readouts. No one saw the slight furrow of his brow, the almost imperceptible tilt of his head that suggested he was seeing something different from the panicked alien engineers. Commander Zarlex, the lead researcher, slammed another tentacle-like appendage against a holographic control panel. Diagnostic sequences scrolled faster than any human eye could track -1,247 separate attempts to activate the ship's systems. Each one ended in complete failure. "It doesn't make sense," muttered a Nexian engineer, her translucent skin flickering with waves of anxious color. "Every single diagnostic protocol suggests the ship is fully functional. Power systems optimal. Quantum drives aligned. Neural networks primed. But nothing responds." The luminous horizon had been more than just a ship. It was a statement, a declaration of what unified galactic intelligence could achieve. Constructed in zero-gravity orbital shipyards, assembled molecule by molecule using technologies so advanced they bordered on magic, the vessel represented a collective dream of exploration. 12 species had invested everything into this project. Trillions of credits, decades of research, the collective hopes of multiple civilizations. And now it was nothing more than the most expensive paperweight in the universe. Rumors began to circulate through the station. Some whispered about a fundamental design flaw. Others suggested sabotage. A few radical theorists proposed that the ship had developed some form of collective consciousness and was deliberately refusing activation. Jack Harper took another sip of his coffee. To the alien engineers, it would look like a simple, unconscious gesture. But behind his seemingly disinterested expression, something was brewing. A perspective. An approach that no amount of advanced alien technology could replicate. Because sometimes, solving a problem requires more than computational power. Sometimes, it requires understanding. And humans? Humans understood things differently. The emergency conference room stretched nearly 200 meters long, a massive chamber designed to accommodate the dozen different alien species gathered to address the luminous horizon's inexplicable failure. Holographic displays flickered with intricate data streams, each representing a different diagnostic approach that had ultimately resulted in nothing. Commander Zarlex of the Quarian research team stood at the center of the chamber, his massive form radiating frustration. Crystalline appendages emerged from his central mass, each one connected to a different computational interface. Where organic beings might clench a fist, Zarlex's crystalline tendrils vibrated with barely contained anger. "We have exhausted every known diagnostic protocol," he announced, his translation matrix rendering his complex language into crisp, formal human speech. 12 species, 17,000 of the most brilliant minds in the galaxy, and we cannot activate a single starship. The chamber fell silent. Representatives from each civilization shifted uncomfortably. The Nexian delegation, beings of pure energy contained within translucent exoskeletons, pulsed with waves of embarrassment and confusion. The Vraxian spatial mathematicians ran calculations so complex they appeared as beautiful fractal-like shows around their bodies. Jack Harper remained in the back of the chamber, ostensibly there to handle any maintenance issues. To the alien delegates, he was barely more than background noise. A human. A species barely considered worthy of technological conversation. Dr. Alina Voss, the lead Vraxian mathematician, began her presentation. Holographic models erupted around her, showing impossibly complex computational pathways. Each pathway represented a different attempt to activate the luminous horizon systems. "Our approaches have been comprehensive," she explained, her voice a melodic series of mathematical tones translated into human speech. "We have attempted quantum recalibration across 17 distinct methodological frameworks. Neural net diagnostics that would typically resolve any system anomaly within microseconds have failed completely." A Zarkax engineer named Krelax interjected, his crystalline body shifting colors to represent emotional states. "It is as if the ship is actively resisting activation. But that is impossible. We have designed fail-safes, override protocols, emergency activation sequences." Jack noticed something. A pattern in the holographic displays that the alien engineers seemed to miss. The way the diagnostic sequences repeated. The subtle recursion in their approach. But no one asked him. No one ever asked the maintenance worker. The conference continued. More presentations, more failed diagnostic approaches. The luminous horizon remained a trillion-credit enigma, a monument to technological frustration. Krelax displayed another series of computational models. Each was more complex than the last. Quantum probability matrices that would make human mathematicians weep. Multidimensional diagnostic protocols that explored potential system failures across hundreds of potential realities. "We have explored every possible failure scenario," Krelax proclaimed. "Every potential system corruption. Every theoretical mechanical interference." Jack watched and listened. The alien engineers approached the problem like mathematicians solving an equation, each approach more complex than the last. Each diagnostic more intricate, each protocol more sophisticated. But sometimes sophistication was the enemy of understanding. As the conference continued, Jack noticed something else. The alien engineers were so focused on their complex approaches that they were missing something fundamental, something basic. They were talking about the ship, analyzing the ship, studying the ship, but no one had actually tried to communicate with the ship. The conference room continued to hum with technological complexity. Holographic displays continued to show increasingly sophisticated diagnostic approaches. The gathered alien species continued to demonstrate why they were considered the most advanced civilizations in the known universe. And Jack Harper continued to watch and think. Because humans approached problems differently. Where alien engineers saw complex systems, humans saw stories. Where sophisticated computational matrices explored 1,000 potential failures, human intuition looked for simple solutions. Something was wrong with the luminous horizon, and Jack was beginning to understand that the solution wouldn't be found in another diagnostic sequence. It would be found by actually listening. The maintenance deck was a study in contrasts. Sleek alien technology intersected with human practicality. Holographic interfaces next to worn toolboxes, quantum computational units alongside simple coffee makers that looked like relics from another century. Jack Harper spread out a collection of physical documents. Real paper. Actual printed reports. something that made the alien engineers look at him with a mixture of confusion and disdain. "What are you doing?" Dr. Elena Voss asked, her crystalline translation matrix rendering her words with clinical precision. "Investigating," Jack responded, his fingers tracing lines of text that seemed impossibly archaic to the advanced beings around him. The documents represented the entire history of the Luminous Horizons development: printed design logs, manufacturing reports, personnel communications, things that had been digitized and forgotten by the alien engineering teams. Physical documentation was a human quirk that most advanced civilizations had abandoned centuries ago. Digital archives were faster, more efficient, more reliable, but humans understood something about physical documentation that other species missed: the spaces between the lines, the marginal notes, the human elements that didn't translate into pure data. Krelax, the Zarkax engineer, watched with barely contained contempt. "Our digital archives are comprehensive. Every microscopic detail of the ship's development has been recorded with quantum-level precision. What could possibly be gained from those primitive documents?" Jack didn't respond immediately. He was reading, absorbing, looking for patterns that went beyond computational analysis. The ship's development had been a massive collaborative project. 12 different species, each contributing different technological components, each with their own design philosophy, their own approach to problem solving. Most engineering teams would see this as a triumph of collaborative design. Jack saw something different, a potential source of fundamental conflict. "Tell me about the initial design phase," Jack asked, looking directly at Commander Zarlex. The alien commander seemed surprised by the direct question. "We have extensive digital records." "I want the story," Jack interrupted. "Not the data. The story of how this ship was conceived." The alien engineers exchanged confused glances. Stories were not scientific. Stories were not precise. Stories were human. Dr. Voss began to explain. The Luminous Horizon had been more than a technological project. It was a diplomatic statement, a vessel that would demonstrate the collaborative potential of multiple galactic civilizations. Each species had contributed core systems. The Zarkax provided quantum computational matrices. The Corians designed the faster-than-light drive systems. The Nexians created the neural network interfaces. The Vraxians developed the spatial navigation algorithms. Jack listened, and something began to take shape in his mind. Did anyone, he asked slowly, actually talk to each other during the design process? Silence filled the maintenance deck. Krelax's crystalline body flickered with confusion. "We communicated extensively. Our digital collaboration protocols are the most advanced in the known universe." "Communication," Jack said, "is not the same as conversation." The alien engineers looked at each other. For the first time, a hint of uncertainty crossed their faces. Jack pulled out a series of design documents. He began pointing out subtle inconsistencies, places where different technological approaches contradicted each other, moments where collaborative design had created potential conflict points. "Your ship is fighting itself," he said quietly. The statement hung in the air. Impossible. Absurd. And yet, something about it rang true. The Luminous Horizon wasn't just a technological marvel. It was a diplomatic compromise given physical form. 12 different species had poured their technological philosophies into a single vessel. 12 different approaches to problem solving. 12 different understandings of what a starship could be. And somewhere in that complexity, something had broken. Commander Zarlex stepped forward. For the first time, a human maintenance worker had their full attention. "Explain," he demanded. Jack smiled. The investigation was just beginning. The ship's primary analysis chamber resembled a cathedral of technology. Holographic displays cascaded around Jack like crystalline waterfalls of information, each stream representing a different aspect of the Luminous Horizon's impossibly complex systems. Dr. Elena Voss watched with a mixture of skepticism and growing curiosity as Jack methodically worked through the ship's design documentation. Where alien engineers saw rows of perfect data, Jack saw a narrative, a story of technological collaboration that had gone fundamentally wrong. "Look here," Jack said, pointing to a seemingly innocuous line of code that most beings would have overlooked. The alien engineers leaned in, their various sensory apparatuses focusing with intense precision. The problem wasn't a technical failure. It was a philosophical one. Each of the 12 contributing species had embedded their own safety protocols into the ship's core systems. The Corian faster-than-light drive had one set of absolute safety parameters. The Zarkak's computational matrices had another. The Nexian neural interfaces operated under completely different conceptual frameworks. These weren't just technical differences. They were fundamentally incompatible worldviews encoded into the ship's most basic operational systems. "It's like 12 different languages trying to have a conversation," Jack murmured. "And none of them are actually listening to each other." The ship's safety systems had created a recursive loop of infinite prevention. Each system was so focused on preventing potential catastrophic failure that they had collectively paralyzed the entire vessel. Commander Zarlex's crystalline body pulsed with a complex array of colors representing emotional states: confusion, frustration, a dawning understanding. "Our collaborative approach," Dr. Voss said softly, "was supposed to be our greatest strength." Jack nodded. "Collaboration requires more than just contribution. It requires understanding." The maintenance worker began pulling up design documents from each species: the Corian faster-than-light drive calculations, the Zarkak's quantum computational matrices, the Nexian neural interface designs, the Vraxian spatial navigation algorithms. To the alien engineers, these were perfect examples of advanced technological design. To Jack, they were a puzzle waiting to be solved. He started mapping the intersections, the places where different technological philosophies contradicted each other, where safety protocols created impossible scenarios, where the ship's multiple intelligences were locked in a permanent state of technological debate. The luminous horizon wasn't broken. It was confused. "Your ship is experiencing something like philosophical paralysis," Jack explained. "Each system is so committed to its own version of safety that it's preventing any form of collective action." The alien engineers exchanged glances. This was not a concept their computational minds found easy to grasp. Technology was supposed to be precise, predictable, logical. But humans understood something different about complex systems. They understood that logic was more than just mathematical precision. Logic was also about understanding context, about finding common ground. Jack began making notes. Not digital notes, physical notes. With a pen, on paper, something that made the alien engineers look at him like he was performing some kind of arcane ritual. Each note represented a potential bridge between the conflicting systems, a way to translate between the different technological languages encoded in the ship's core. "We need to give the ship a way to negotiate with itself," Jack said. "Not override, not force. Negotiate." Commander Zarlex's translation matrix struggled with the concept. Negotiation was not a technological term. It was a human approach to problem-solving. Dr. Voss watched with increasing fascination. For the first time, she saw something beyond the pure mathematics of the situation. She saw a story, a potential solution that went beyond computational thinking. The luminous horizon contained the most advanced technological systems in the known universe. Quantum drives that could theoretically traverse multiple dimensions. Computational matrices that could process more information in a microsecond than entire planetary networks. And yet, it was paralyzed by a fundamentally human problem: communication, understanding, finding common ground. Jack looked up from his notes. The alien engineers waited, their various sensory apparatuses focused entirely on him. "I think," he said quietly, "I know how to wake up your ship." The primary engineering lab fell silent as Jack began his work. His approach was nothing like the sophisticated alien diagnostic protocols. No complex quantum algorithms. No multidimensional computational matrices. Just a series of deceptively simple modifications that made the alien engineers exchange bewildered glances. He started with a whiteboard. An actual physical whiteboard with erasable markers, a tool so primitive it seemed like a museum piece to the advanced technological beings surrounding him. First, Jack said, drawing a basic flowchart, we need to understand why the ship is stuck. Commander Zarlex's crystalline body pulsed with colors representing increasing frustration and curiosity. Dr. Alina Voss leaned closer, her sensory apparatuses tracking every movement of Jack's hand. The whiteboard became a map of technological conflict. Each line represented a different species' safety protocol. Each intersection showed where these protocols contradicted each other, where one system's definition of safety directly prevented another system's operational requirements. The Corian faster-than-light drive demanded absolute predictability. The Zarkak's quantum computational matrices required constant adaptive response. The Nexian neural interfaces prioritized collective consciousness over individual system integrity. Your ship isn't just a piece of technology, Jack explained. It's a diplomatic compromise given mechanical form. He began writing lines of code. Not the complex, multidimensional algorithms the alien engineers were used to. Simple, elegant, purposeful lines that created translation layers between the conflicting systems. It was like writing a peace treaty, not through force, but through understanding. The alien engineers watched in disbelief. Jack was essentially creating a universal translator for technological systems, a way for different computational philosophies to communicate without losing their fundamental nature. We're not overriding the safety protocols, Jack said. We're giving them a way to negotiate. Each line of code was a bridge, a way for one system to understand the potential concerns of another. A method of finding compromise that didn't require complete submission. Dr. Voss realized something profound. This wasn't just a technical solution. This was a fundamentally human approach to problem solving. Computers, to most advanced species, were tools, mathematical constructs, logical systems to be controlled and directed. But humans saw computers differently, as potential partners, as systems capable of understanding context, of finding creative solutions. Jack's modifications were revolutionary in their simplicity. Where alien engineers would have created complex override protocols, he was creating a system of mutual understanding. The code he wrote wasn't just a technical solution. It was a conversation. Think of it like diplomatic translation, Jack explained. Each system can now express its core concerns, and more importantly, listen to the concerns of other systems. Commander Zarlex's translation matrix struggled to process the concept. Listening wasn't a technological term. It was a human approach to complexity. Line by line, Jack rebuilt the ship's core operational matrix. Not by force, not by complex computational restructuring, but by creating spaces for understanding. The alien engineers began to see something remarkable. This wasn't just code. This was a form of technological empathy. Each modification Jack made was elegant in its simplicity. Complex problems rarely required complex solutions. Sometimes they just required someone willing to listen, to understand, to find common ground. There, Jack said finally, stepping back from the holographic interface. Now the ship can talk to itself. The engineering lab held its breath. Computational matrices hummed. Sensory systems activated. Every advanced technological being waited to see what would happen. Jack's solution went beyond technical problem solving. It was a statement about communication, about understanding, about finding potential where others saw only conflict. The luminous horizon waited. 12 different technological philosophies now had a way to understand each other, to negotiate, to find a path forward. Humans had a term for this, a simple phrase that captured something profound. Sometimes, all you need is to talk it out. The moment stretched into infinity. 12 different species held their collective breath. Holographic displays flickered with anticipation. Computational matrices hummed with potential energy. Commander Zarlex's crystalline body vibrated with an emotion closest to human anxiety. Dr. Elena Voss positioned herself at the primary diagnostic interface, her sensory apparatuses simultaneously tracking 1,000 different potential outcomes. Jack Harper stood perfectly still, his hands in his pockets, a slight smile playing at the corner of his mouth. The luminous horizon began to wake up. It wasn't a dramatic surge of power, not a thunderous roar of technological might. Instead, the ship's systems came online like a conversation slowly finding its rhythm, each subsystem communicating, negotiating, finding common ground. The Corian faster-than-light drive initiated a dialogue with the Zarkak's quantum computational matrices. The Nexian neural interfaces began harmonizing with the Vraxian spatial navigation algorithms. Where before there had been conflict, now there was communication. Holographic displays erupted with a symphony of data. Not the chaotic information burst the engineers had expected, but a carefully orchestrated exchange of computational understanding. "It's working," Dr. Voss whispered. Her translation matrix struggled to capture the complexity of her emotional state. Jack watched as the ship's core systems found their collective voice. His solution wasn't about forcing cooperation. It was about creating a framework for understanding. A technological diplomatic court operating at the speed of light. The alien engineering team stared in disbelief. What they had considered impossible was happening before their eyes. A ship designed by 12 different species was actually functioning as a unified whole. Sensor arrays came online. Quantum drives hummed with a harmony that defied previous computational models. Neural interfaces began mapping potential trajectories that combined the best insights from multiple technological philosophies. Commander Zarlex's communication systems began receiving reports. Each subsystem was not just operational. It was collaborative, adaptive, responsive in ways that went beyond their original design parameters. How? The commander's translation matrix rendered the question with mathematical precision. "How did you make this work?" Jack shrugged. "Sometimes," he said, "you just need to help things listen to each other." The luminous horizon continued its awakening. Layers of technological complexity unfolded like a living system finding its consciousness, each system no longer fighting for dominance. Instead, finding strength in collective understanding. The ship's central eye began broadcasting. But this wasn't a standard operational report. This was something different. A communication that reflected the unique collaborative nature of its design. Diagnostic reports came in multiple languages. Computational matrices shared insights. Spatial navigation systems offered potential trajectory optimizations. Each contribution was both unique and part of a greater whole. Dr. Voss began analyzing the data streams. What she saw defied everything she understood about technological integration. The ship wasn't just functional. It was evolving, adapting, finding new ways of understanding its own potential. "This is impossible," she muttered. Jack heard her. "Nothing's impossible," he responded. "Just not yet understood." The alien engineers continued to watch in stunned silence. Their most advanced technological project, a vessel meant to demonstrate the collaborative potential of multiple galactic civilizations, was now doing exactly that in ways they had never anticipated. The luminous horizon was more than a ship now. It was a living example of what happened when different perspectives found a way to communicate, when systems were given the opportunity to understand rather than simply compete. Computational displays continued to show the ship's ongoing integration, each subsystem finding its place, each technological approach contributing its unique perspective to a greater whole. Commander Zarlex's communication systems continued receiving reports. Performance metrics exceeded every previous projection. Computational efficiency was off the charts. Adaptive capabilities demonstrated levels of integration that went beyond their most optimistic design specifications. Jack watched the displays. To the alien engineers, it might have looked like he was simply observing. But something more was happening. He was listening, understanding, appreciating the complex symphony of technological communication he had helped create. The luminous horizon was awake, and it was ready to explore the universe. The news spread faster than light communications. Within hours, the story of the Luminous Horizons activation had become the most discussed topic across multiple galactic communication networks. A human maintenance worker had solved a problem that 12 of the most advanced civilizations in the universe could not. Diplomatic channels lit up with requests. Research institutions across multiple star systems began reviewing their most challenging technological projects. The fundamental approach to problem solving was about to change. Jack Harper found himself at the center of a galactic storm of attention. Where most humans would have been overwhelmed, he remained surprisingly calm. Diplomatic envoys from multiple species requested meetings. Research institutions offered unprecedented collaborative opportunities. The Galactic Science Consortium convened an emergency conference. Representatives from 12 different species gathered in a massive orbital conference center, its architecture a testament to collaborative design. And now, a living metaphor for the challenges of true cooperation. Commander Zarlex presented the detailed analysis of Jack's solution. Holographic displays showed the intricate modifications that had allowed the Luminous Horizon to overcome its initial paralysis. What the aliens had seen as an impossible technical challenge, Jack had approached as a communication problem. This is more than a technological breakthrough, Dr. Elena Voss explained to the assembled delegates. This is a fundamental reimagining of how complex systems interact. The implications were staggering. Dozens of stalled technological projects across multiple star systems suddenly found new potential. Research initiatives that had been locked in computational deadlock began to see paths forward. Humans, long considered a minor species in the galactic hierarchy, suddenly found themselves in a position of unexpected importance. Technical consultants were being requested. Problem-solving workshops were being designed. The human approach to understanding complex systems was becoming a valuable commodity. Jack himself remained somewhat bemused by the attention. During one diplomatic briefing, he simply shrugged when asked about his revolutionary approach. Sometimes, he said, you just need to listen. The Luminous Horizon became more than just a technological marvel. It became a symbol of a different approach to problem solving. Where alien civilizations saw challenges as mathematical equations to be solved, humans saw them as conversations waiting to happen. Research teams began studying Jack's approach. They discovered something profound. His solution wasn't just about the Luminous Horizon. It was about a fundamentally different way of understanding complexity. The ship's ongoing performance exceeded every projection. Its adaptive capabilities demonstrated levels of integration that went far beyond the original design specifications. Each system continued to communicate, to negotiate, to find collective solutions in real time. Diplomatic channels began exploring what this might mean for interstellar collaboration. If a ship could be designed to truly communicate across different technological philosophies, what might this mean for species communication? Jack found himself invited to multiple research institutions, lecture halls filled with the most advanced beings in the universe, all eager to understand the human approach to problem solving. It's not about being the smartest, he would explain. It's about being willing to listen, to understand, to find common ground. The Galactic Science Consortium began a new initiative. Human consultants were to be integrated into complex technological projects across multiple research institutions. Where before humans had been seen as technological novices, now they were viewed as crucial problem-solving partners. Dr. Voss published a groundbreaking paper analyzing the Luminous Horizons activation. The document became required reading across multiple scientific institutions. It explored not just the technical solution, but the philosophical approach that made it possible. Commander Zarlex, once dismissive of human capabilities, became one of the most vocal advocates for human involvement in complex technological projects. The crystalline being had learned something profound about the nature of problem-solving. The Luminous Horizon continued to exceed expectations. Its maiden voyage would take it to regions of space that had previously been considered unreachable. But more importantly, it had become a living demonstration of what was possible when different perspectives found a way to truly communicate. Jack Harper watched the preparations for the ship's first mission. To the alien engineers around him, he might have looked like just another maintenance worker, but something had changed. Humans had shown that sometimes the most advanced solution is the simplest one. That true innovation comes not from computational power, but from the ability to listen, to understand, to find common ground. The launch ceremony for the Luminous Horizon was unlike any diplomatic event in galactic history. 12 different species stood together, their traditional rivalries and technological differences momentarily set aside. Jack Harper stood at the periphery of the massive observation deck. To the casual observer, he might have looked out of place among the elaborate diplomatic uniforms and sophisticated alien dignitaries. His maintenance worker's jacket seemed almost comically simple compared to the intricate ceremonial attire surrounding him. Commander Zarlex approached, his crystalline body refracting light in complex patterns that represented diplomatic formality. "The ship requests your presence," the alien commander said, his translation matrix rendering the words with unprecedented warmth. Jack raised an eyebrow. "The ship requests." The Luminous Horizon had become more than a technological marvel. It had become a living demonstration of collaborative potential. Its neural interfaces had evolved beyond their original design, creating a form of collective intelligence that defied previous understanding of artificial systems. The launch platform stretched for kilometers, a testament to the collaborative engineering that had created the vessel. Holographic displays showed multiple perspectives, technical readouts, diplomatic protocols, spatial navigation matrices, all working in perfect harmony. Dr. Elena Voss stood nearby, her computational apparatuses tracking every minute detail of the preparation. She had become one of the most vocal advocates for the human approach to problem solving. Her research papers had transformed multiple scientific institutions' understanding of technological integration. "Humanity has changed everything," she said quietly to Jack. "Not through force, not through technological superiority, but through understanding." The ship's maiden voyage would take it beyond the explored regions of space. Territories that previous missions had considered unreachable were now potential destinations. The Luminous Horizon represented more than a technological achievement. It was a diplomatic statement. Jack watched as final preparations completed, each system of the ship communicating, negotiating, finding collective solutions in real time. Diplomatic representatives from 12 different species stood together. Where before there had been competition, now there was collaboration. The ship had become a living metaphor for what was possible when different perspectives found common ground. The launch countdown began. Computational matrices hummed. Quantum drives prepared for activation. Spatial navigation systems calculated potential trajectories that combined the best insights from multiple technological philosophies. Jack understood something profound. Technology wasn't just about computational power. It was about communication, about finding ways to understand each other. The Luminous Horizon began its launch sequence, but this was unlike any previous space launch. Each system worked in perfect harmony. Neural interfaces shared insights. Computational matrices offered real-time optimizations. Spatial navigation systems proposed trajectory adjustments. A living system more complex than any previous artificial intelligence. Commander Zarlex watched the launch, his crystalline body pulsing with emotions that transcended his species' traditional computational approach. Humanity had shown something profound. That true innovation comes from understanding, from listening. Dr. Voss continued monitoring the launch sequences. The data streams were beyond anything previously imagined. Each system not just functional, but collaborative, adaptive, responsive. Jack remembered the simple whiteboard, the erasable markers. The moment when he had first seen the ship not as a technical challenge, but as a conversation waiting to happen. The Luminous Horizon lifted from its launch platform. Quantum drives engaged with a harmony that defied previous computational models. It wasn't just a ship launching. It was a statement about collaboration, about finding potential where others saw only conflict. Holographic displays tracked its trajectory. Multiple perspectives combined into a single, elegant path of exploration. As the ship breached the orbital platforms, Jack understood something fundamental. Humanity's greatest strength had never been technological superiority. It had always been the ability to listen, to understand, to find common ground. The luminous horizon disappeared into the vast darkness of space, the living demonstration of what was possible when different perspectives found a way to truly communicate. Humanity had changed everything, not through force, not through technological might, but through understanding.